Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for the webinar. Today, we're very lucky to have one of our local member of Parliament, Mr. Deepak-Raj Gupta, and the CEO of the Canberra Business Chamber, Mr. Catt. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you.
So as you know, the ACT government and the Canberra Business Chamber is now working very hard and has come up with many support and stimulate packages during the COVID-19 pandemic to help our local community. So my first question is for Mr. Gupta. So what the supports have the ACT government offered to the local businesses in the ACT during the COVID-19 pandemic? Mr. Gupta.
Thank you, Neil. As you know, it has been a very unprecedented time we have seen in our lives. And what is a good idea at that time is not a good idea today. But even with the changing circumstances and changing situation, what ACT government has done so far has been establish a Canberra Business Advice and Support Service. So this is a personalized advice for ACT businesses who are affected not only by COVID-19, but prior to that bushfire as well. So some of the things which have been taken out viewed from the bushfire time is commercial rates relief, so extra time to pay rates, a credit of 2,622, which is basically equivalent to annual fixed charges of general rates and general fees are there in practice at the moment. Commercial properties owner can defer their rate like interest free until October 2020. So this was done in April, and we are now coming, and hopefully there'll be another revision of all those packages which have been offered during this time. There has not been much change since what it was in April. And as I said, we are assessing the situation on need basis, how the circumstances are changing. So hopefully we'll have a second version of that where there'll be some extra relief or some tailor to the current arrangement we have. Food business registration, outdoor dining, liquor license, all have been waived for this financial year. Most fees associated with running a business have been frozen till next year for the period 2019 and 2020 levels. 3.3 million to support employees at clubs who cannot currently operate. So that has been established. Utilities rebate for small businesses, hotels, cafe, and restaurants. Payroll tax waivers and deferrals. So some people can defer their payroll taxes. So that been almost a year there now. Rent relief, commercial tenants and tenants of ACT government properties. So that also been we assisted tenants with rent relief, and some negotiation are going where there's not a win-win situation is coming. So as I said, the situation is changing rapidly, daily basis, hourly basis. But the best thing is anyone who need to know the current situation and current grants by ACT government. I would highly urge them to go visit covid19.act.gov.au website. This is updated regularly, and this is any changes that happens will be available for anyone to go and have a look.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Gupta. Thank you for the information you shared. So we know that the situation is always changing, so it's always good to stay tuned to the newest policies and information. So Mr. Catt, as you know, Mr. Gupta has mentioned lots of support packages offered by the ACT government, and I know we have also like the Choose Local campaign that's going on to support our local businesses. So what do you think of those support packages?
Yeah, thank you, Neo. And I think Mr. Gupta is actually absolutely right. A lot of these things are implemented very quickly. I think one of the things about 2020 is we've seen the federal government and the ACT government move really quickly to take action and to provide support for small businesses. And small business particularly, but businesses of all sizes have really appreciated that support. I think the point is very important that a lot of these things were introduced in late March or April. And of course, lots of things continue to happen and continue to impact business. So Look, I think our view as a member organisation, the business chamber that represents business, is there's always more we could be doing for business, much as we recognise the great investment the ACT government's made. In regard to and I think that's what Mr. Gupta's saying, is that we need to keep reviewing and keep looking and keep listening, because the things are changing, the needs of business are changing as well. So in addition to the things that are already there, it's just important that we do get feedback and we do understand what businesses are going through. One of the concerns, of course, that business has, that we hear a lot, is what happens in September, October. We were concerned that the federal government support through JobKeeper particularly would end. There has been some relief there because, of course, the federal government support through JobKeeper will continue. But again, the number of businesses that will be able to access that will be much, much smaller. Our understanding is we could see 70 or even 80% of the current recipients actually no longer access that JobKeeper benefit. So what does that mean? What does that mean for business? What additional supports might they need? What situation will they find themselves is important. You've asked me about the Choose Local campaign. Look, I think a great initiative by the ACT government. One of the things that we have seen and we have heard, and I think this goes to community behaviour in Canberra, I don't know that people necessarily thought a great deal or considered a great deal when they were making buying choices about the difference between supporting a local small business and the difference between going to a large supermarket or making that choice actively. And I think we certainly have seen people across Canberra have a new appreciation of the role that a small business plays in their life. I think when we were in lockdown, it was often the cafe that was actually selling some toilet paper, if we can all remember back to those times, or some bread, or a whole range of essentials. So businesses were playing a really important role in helping people adapt to that really difficult time that we went through, and sending takeaway, getting into home delivery when they hadn't done home delivery before. And I think the community really does have a new appreciation of how important local business is, how important small business is particularly, and therefore how important it is to keep it going through the times ahead as well. So I think the Choose Local campaign is a great initiative just to keep us reminded, because of course we all go back to our old ways if we don't have reminders. And I think it's important that we keep that message out there and we keep reminding people that, you know, small business, we need to remember, employs about 95% roughly of jobs globally. In Australia and the ACT, very similar. It's small business and medium business that are going to provide jobs, going to keep people employed, and therefore going to keep our economy not just going, but actually prospering and growing again as soon as we possibly can.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah. So we know that the business chamber is a strong advocate for the, the business, local business in ACT. So you must be hearing lots of voice from the local businesses. So do you have any suggestions like that we can take to the ACT government?
Yeah, thanks, Neo. Look, we do hear from a range of businesses, and businesses find themselves in all sorts of different situations. So we've got to say some businesses are actually doing okay. There are businesses across different sectors that are doing well. And then at the other end of the spectrum, there are businesses like our tourism operators who have just been absolutely decimated by the past 6 months. They haven't been able to trade normally since last November. So people find themselves in a range of different situations. Probably a few of the key things that we hear from business are about the importance of information. Small business people are particularly, again, are busy. They're working hard on the business. They're working hard on trying to make sure that they stay in business, and that's their focus. And getting information to them in the right way, making sure it's easy to understand, making sure that the messages are short and sharp, and that the basic things they need to know are there, and getting out to people as quickly and easily as possible is really important. And that's something we do hear from businesses. Obviously, there is the situation we find ourselves in at the moment. There is a lot more concern from businesses around the uncertainty of the roadmap, the reopening of businesses, our roadmap to economic recovery in the ACT as well as across Australia. And I think the more we can do to reassure them that we're still following that roadmap, how will decisions be made, If we have to keep pausing restrictions, what will that mean, and how do we deal with that? I think that kind of information is really important to business right now at the moment. And I think the third thing is we do need to recognise that there are still businesses, and small businesses particularly, who have been really significantly impacted either by conditions so far, or will be impacted again if we continue to have to not move forward with that easing of restrictions and that roadmap. And I think the thing that we do hear from businesses is, in addition to all the initiatives that we've talked about so far, the easing of rates and charges, deferrals, waivers, that there still is a need for some people to have some support basically in cash. There are businesses that really, the gap between the revenues they can get in the door and the costs of running their business and having people come to work every day is just still too great to them. That's what we hear a lot as well. And we obviously have talked to the ACT government about, is just the need for some additional support, not for every small business, but for particular businesses in particular sectors.
Yeah, that's awesome. The information is very helpful. I'm sure Mr. Deepak will let those voices be heard by the ACT government. So next question.
I have already raised that one, and we had a good meeting yesterday with Graham, and also flagged to the Chief Minister as well. But again, I think we should understand the jurisdiction, what ACT is. At times, it is not feasible to have that cash component handy as compared to New South Wales and Queensland and Victoria. So with a very limited resource, the best thing we are doing at this stage is going through the people who are registered under our system with their rates and commercial rates and rebates. And that's the best way at this stage we are giving them relief. But again, in saying so, it's not that the idea is still there, and we are looking for a way how we can, if the cash component is there, to provide that kind of relief as well. But at this stage, nothing has been confirmed, but there's team working on it as we speak.
Yeah, thank you. So apart from the businesses, a lot of Canberrans in Canberra are like holding a temporary visa, like international students. So is there any supports that the government have provided to those people who are holding the temporary visas and or the international students?
Yes, international students are very, very important to us, especially in ACT. I mean, to all of Australia, but to ACT as well. And we have seen they have been the most biggest revenue generation for ACT economy. ACT government is working along with the universities for bringing back or helping the international student, but that will be done through the universities, not directly with the ACT government. So ACT government is providing that support to universities, and the university will then have to, take out the relief package to the students, because one thing is that we want to channelize this, and the best way we can do is through the welfare officer in every university they have the data, they know the situation, and they will prioritize, who is the best person to get the relief at certain time, because some of them are not in that dire strait as others. So the decision has to be made by university, not by the ACT government, but the ACT government is providing that support to the universities.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I think most of us have heard this program called the Jobs for Canberrans Fund. So could you introduce us how this fund works to support the workers in the ACT who have previously relied on the casual employment, or who may be the international visa holders or international students?
Yeah, as you know, as Graham and I've been saying, that situation is rapidly changing, and with the COVID crisis, so we have to keep changing our demand, and people losing jobs, or we're trying to bring some people down into the workforce. So the Job for Canberra Fund works to provide employment for Canberrans who have lost their jobs or had their hourly significantly reduced, for that. So due to COVID-19, the fund support casual workers who are not eligible for the federal government support and work on need basis. So there was not support provided by the federal government to those who are on the casual. workers. So this is where ACT government has injected some fund to support to the Canberra foreign workers. So the fund connects unemployed Canberrans and the businesses who need additional support. So far, the program has provided over 450 people with the jobs, and registration are still open. So if you go to their website for Canberra Fund Works, so you can register yourself. And again, it is on the need basis, and the team analyzes and provides support to those who are casual workers or somebody's hours has been drastically reduced due to COVID-19.
Yeah, that's good. So, as you know, that this government has created lots of jobs for Canberrans during the COVID-19, and lots of infrastructure and constructions and maintenance going on. But as we do this, we must have also be working to ensure that we are also having a private enterprise that's lead the economic recovery. So how can we do best to support this? These questions for Mr. Catt.
Look, I'll start with a few figures about Canberra that might surprise some people. So there were at the last Australian Bureau of Statistics count, there were 30,500 businesses in the ACT, registered businesses, and that's a record number. It's the highest number of private firms we've ever had here. In the last year, we had the highest rate of growth of businesses in the ACT. I think the highest in the country. So there's a very high rate of business formation. And I think the other really important fact is that the private sector now employs about 66% of Canberrans. So there's about 235,000 jobs in Canberra, and about 166,000 of those are actually within the private sector. So that often comes as a surprise to people who still think of us as a public service town, because it's very much a private sector town, and the public service plays a really important role in that. So in terms of how we keep that private sector able to drive economic growth, and how we keep that private sector able to keep employing people, and that's really important, is providing jobs. There's a few things. We need to make sure that diversity is part of our economy, so that we have a really wide range of industry sectors, and we support those industry sectors to come and trade here. We're very fortunate that we have some areas like defence, for example, which are based in Canberra, and they provide a real boost to the private sector organisations that are actually engaging in those industries. So making sure we have a diverse economy is really, really important. For a business operator, I think the most important thing is that when it comes to starting a business, to running a business, we just need to remove barriers to that make a difference to that business operator, that make their life more difficult, but don't really necessarily add any more value to the government, to the community, or to that business. And that's really one of the focuses is, how do we do that? What are the administrative processes perhaps that get in the way, that you have to spend time on as a business operator? A lot of those are federal things. I saw a statistic recently that said for a small business operator employing their first employee, they will spend on average 19 hours on the paperwork that's involved in employing that first person. And if you run a small business and you're making that first step into employment, that's 19 hours you're not spending on the business, and you're not spending on economic growth and driving the success of that enterprise. So one of the things is to make sure that we're being as business friendly as we possibly can, and removing barriers for people to actually get things up and running. I think the other thing that's really important is that we actually make sure we're a culture that supports business people and supports people being entrepreneurial. And that's a cultural issue. We need to make sure that we have a culture here that if you want to try something, if you want to open a business and try something new, that there's a whole range of supports, and that's seen as a good thing to do. And to be honest, and most people listening to this will probably know this, when you start a business, it doesn't always go to plan, and that's okay. Part of being entrepreneurial is you can try something, it doesn't work out, you can try something else, and we encourage that kind of thinking. And I think the last thing I'd say is probably about innovation, and we provide a lot of support through the Canberra Innovation Network to what I call early stage startup businesses in a lot of sectors. But I think one of the other things we need to be thinking about is how we provide that same sort of support to more mature small businesses as well. So if you're a business operator and you've lived through the past 6 months and you're thinking about what we call a pivot or going in a different direction, or perhaps manufacturing something that you've seen a niche for that wasn't there before, how do we provide that same support to you to be innovative, to take that new idea forward, and to keep employing people and possibly even grow your business or start providing new services and new goods? What's the best way we can support those people? So I think they're our main ideas about the sorts of things we need to do as a community. And I'll stress again, until March this year, we were the fastest growing place in Australia for new business formation. We had a record number of private sector. So this is about making sure we keep that going, and we keep encouraging people to make that move, and we keep making sure the private sector can provide jobs and employ people. At the end of the day, that's the most important thing for us as an economy going forward.
Yep, thank you. So, Mr. Gupta, as mentioned by Mr. Catt, the diversity is very important to the economy of the Canberra. But international travelers and international students are also an important part of the Canberra's economy. But the border has been closed, so considering the international travel is off the cards for a while now, and the international tourism has been put on hold, how can we support local businesses in the meantime?
Yeah, thanks, Leo. Very, very important and very good question. I think this is the only time, this is the best time you have to support your local businesses. As we've seen, these 4 or 5 months of lockdown and limited number of people going out and about has really hit hard to many local businesses. And I've been going around with the local shops, and I had a privilege to go out with Mr. Graham Catt as well in Gungahlin, and spoke to them during bushfire time and how best we can affect. So this has been going on almost 6-7 months, and I think this the camel back is about to break. So the best thing we can do is to start supporting the local businesses. Even you're going to buy a coffee, even you're buying something, which rather than you going traveling somewhere else or trying to get it sourced from somewhere other country, try to find it locally. There are all these services, resources, and all those ingredients are available in ACT as well. As you know, there's a travel restriction now with New South Wales, and we have been put as a hotspot by Queensland government, is that they'll be again further, will be hit hard with the local businesses. So best thing we can do now is go and support the local businesses, go local vocal campaign, which was launched a month back. So this is your time to support them, because their survival is your survival. And one of the examples I'll give you is that I've seen one bakery down in my local area, which was about to close, but because of a lot of people working from home and people are supporting local, that business has survived. And we have to do similar things with other businesses as well. There are some businesses who are doing extremely well, but there are some businesses, they still need a lot of foot traffic into their shops or into their online services they have. Other important factor is, I think we should now also realize that online shopping, if you're doing, try to do within Australia, within your local area. Some of those online, that buck doesn't come to your economy. That is also very important. So even by paying $2 extra or $1 extra, something is more beneficial to do that way rather than try to cut corners on your shopping. So this is testing time for all of us. I think the best thing we can do to support our economy is to support our local business. And I've been, as I said, visiting a lot of local businesses, and some of them are really been hit very hard. And they are small family-owned business. And this is where we have to really support, because implication of that could be, the family business is closed. It will affect the local economy. It will have pressure on government to support those people as well. So I would highly encourage people to please shop in your local area, support your local businesses, and this testing time, we all can survive together if we make that small effort.
Yeah, I strongly agree that because, you know, Canberra is strong together. So we support each other, we get through this together. It's very important. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Gupta. So, Mr. Catt, is there anything that the Canberra Business Chamber is currently working on that you would like to let our audience to know about?
Thanks, Neo. And maybe it's important to think about what a chamber is. So we're a membership organisation. We're not funded by the government. We receive some government program funding, particularly for our trade and export programs. But most of we're really driven by our members. So we're a member-based organisation. We're a not-for-profit organisation. We have a board of directors who are actually business people, and they volunteer and give up their time to guide the organisation. And we have a fairly small team of people. So we're a small business ourselves, not just supporting business, but working as a small business. So you've mentioned again, of course, one of our core roles is to provide business with a voice, to talk to the ACT government, but also to the federal government as well. And we are a member of the Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So through that chamber, we also talk directly to the federal government. I was on a call with the Federal Treasurer on Monday evening, for example, and we have very, very good access and a very, very good channel to advocate to the federal government on behalf of Canberra business as well. The key things for us are information. So we're continually working to make sure that we get the information that businesses need out to businesses. And our members, we actually produce an email that gets sent every Wednesday during the week, and that provides a summary of what's happened in the ACT, any new announcements that have been made by the ACT government, things to do with industrial relations, employing people, and also new services that might be available to people. We have just come back into last week for the first time since February. One of the things we do with our members is we run a networking event, face-to-face networking event, Thursday evenings once a month, and they're incredibly popular. Business people really like to get out there, meet others, find new customers, find new connections, grow their supply chain and their supply base. And we're actually able to restart those. So we're very, very happy that we've got those face-to-face networking events back. They're done in a new COVID-safe way, very different way of networking. And the first one of those we did with the Canberra Southern Cross Club. So we had a great night. People embraced a new safe way of getting together. And people were just so grateful to be out again and able to talk to other business people and share. So that's something that we'll keep doing as long as the health restrictions allow us to. And we also provide Zoom meeting-based networking opportunities as well. Every couple of weeks, I think 2 weeks, we get small business operators together and we talk about a particular topic. We do that on Zoom, and that's something new that we've been trying. And then in addition to that, I think at the beginning of the call, we talked about the Canberra Business Enterprise Centre. And this is something that the Chamber has supported. The Canberra Business Enterprise Centre is actually based in our office here on Northbourne Avenue. And I just really would like to commend that service to people as well. It's funded by the ACT government. It provides anyone who needs advice and about business planning, about finances, about any aspect of running a small business with 4 hours of free advice. So, and that's subsidised by government. There's no cost for that. So you sit down with an advisor and can actually get that advice. And in addition, in partnership with the Business Enterprise Centre, if you go to the Canberra Business Chamber website, canberrabusiness.com, I might even see if I could share my screen. There we go. So that should be on the Zoom call now. But if you visit our website, you'll find information about all of our services. And one of the things in events that we're doing in conjunction with the Business Enterprise Centre are some workshops. Again, they're subsidised by government, and they are about really practical things that people are asking us for. So the couple we've got running are on digital marketing, social media marketing, how to use Facebook, how to use those channels. There's a workshop coming up about how to build your online shop using Shopify, which is a very incredibly common platform that people are using. So there's a whole range of practical support that we provide for people as well. The other thing that we have got coming up, which we're very excited about, is actually On September the 8th, of course, we're heading towards an ACT election on the 17th of October, and we will be hosting the Chief Minister Andrew Barr and the Leader of the Opposition, Mr Alastair Coe. They will be having a debate, election debate, and that will be broadcast online to our members, so people who are members of the Chamber can tune in and see that one. So we're obviously looking forward to hearing how our two leaders respond to the policies and the things that small businesses and business across Canberra are asking for. So there's always exciting things coming up, and for anyone who's tuned into this and watching, then we'd absolutely love to have you as a member. So www.canberrabusiness.com. Please reach out, and we'd love to have you on board as part of our chamber.
Yep, thank you so much. I think that's pretty much everything we were going to ask today. So thank you so much, Mr. Catt and Mr. Gupta, for the information you shared. As I mentioned, Canberra's drawn together. If there's anything you'd like us to know or want to reflect to the government, please don't hesitate to contact us. You can now reach to Mr. Gupta by adding him on the WeChat. We will share his contact details with you at the end of the webinar. Thank you so much for joining us today, and stay safe.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Graham.
Thank you, Neo.
Thank you.
That's great.